I was lucky because I met George Rothberg, who was a composer, and I started studying with him when I was about like 16. And the study was I would bring in pieces written in the style of all these different classical music. So by the time I got to Penn, though, that was sort of a difficult experience because I found Penn to be very conservative. It was almost comically conservative. It would be this type of place where a teacher would come down to a place I was playing and say, "You shouldn't be playing jazz, man. It will totally mess up your whole musical thing." And just some of the things that I heard people say about music that I loved, and I knew they didn't know anything about. That's what really angered me about it. That, in a sense, they were criticizing something that they weren't really listening to. I just basically had to get through that experience by saying, I'm going to do the work here and try to do it as well as I can, but don't, try to tell me what type of music to play. I would be sitting in class and listening to teachers make generalizations and thinking, I mean, first of all, that's not even true, and it's not really relating to the world that I know, in terms of playing with people. But what it made me do is resolve in my own mind that I was going to try to absorb everything that I wanted to absorb from every scene. And if it was in the academic world and that's what they were teaching, I would try to do well in that. Sort of ignore the politics and maybe even the racial politics that was sort of behind it, and say, I'm interested in all this music and I'm going to try my best. I'm not necessarily going to buy into trying to become an academic music teacher as the highest goal, which is, I think, what they were grooming a lot of the students for. When I told them, what I want to do, I don't want to continue with Penn. I want to move to New York and I wanted to start playing. And so, in a way, that was my way of dealing with it, that I would absorb what I could from the academy, but then once I went out into the world and try to do what I wanted to do, that I could combine, what I had learned from there with my real life playing. And because the college at that point really didn't have that much emphasis on performance, it was much more theoretical. And when they would talk about contemporary music, they were talking about Arnold Schoenberg and Stravinsky from the 20s and 30s. And I'm thinking, okay, but what about Jimi Hendrix? What about John Coltrane? And the teachers didn't even know who those people were. So, like many young people, you sort of decide, okay, I'm going to try to learn what I can from, these people, and I respect them. But on some level, I have to educate myself and go with the flow of where I was and a lot of people my age were, and it was okay to do that. And of course there's a lot of uncertainty when you're in school. What's going to happen? What are you going to be doing? But for me, I think it was much more, I would rather be dealing with the music in a practical way. And now that I'm older, I have a much less judgmental view of it, because I see that a lot of this stuff that I learned back then in school, I still retain it, and in a way it helps me. I'm glad I took the path that I did, I guess, and maybe it took me longer to learn certain things if I had not, but I think that that's true of many situations where you have to learn it on your own way, and put it together your own way. And that's one of the best things about playing music, is that you can do that, and there's many other people that are trying to do that. And to the extent that we're all trying to learn about it, it should be as open as possible. And if I was a teacher, I would want students to have that, to encourage them to look outwards and to try to first think about what they love instinctively and what they're drawn to instinctively, rather than telling them, this is what you need to learn and this is, which has its place. But the main motivation should be coming out of a love and a natural feeling of, well, what is that music? And then you start to do that research and start to play that music, and then you're in it. And it goes beyond school. It's just something that you've internalized and is part of you.